Okay, I'll start allowing people in. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Hi. Please share your name, where you're coming in from, which country, which city. We would like to see. You got anyone sharing where they're from? Oh, sorry.
Do you want us to share where we're from?
Yeah, why not? That's a good idea.
Wrexham.
Wrexham.
Yorkshire.
Yeah, not far from me. Hi, Maria. USA, Cleveland. Oh, a few from Scotland, B. Fabulous. Oh, Moscow.
All right, so as people are coming through, I'll just go and start off with our house rules, sorry, and welcome. So please ensure you're in the gallery view if you want to see us. You can do that by switching between the presentation and the other side of the Zoom window. You can use the chat box to interact with us, the hosts and the panelists. Just make sure that when you are writing, you have selected everyone. Sometimes you might end up just writing to one person and wondering why no one is responding. And then pen and paper is always a good idea, but this session is also being recorded, so you can also just pay really good attention to the session and revisit it once you receive my follow-up email. So we're going to be looking at the diary dates today. I will also quickly mention our latest project, Art Launch. Then we'll break into the panel discussion and Q&A, and followed by an open forum. So next up on our calendar, we have Art Curation and Exhibition Management short course, which is with Maeve Doyle from Maddox Gallery. The lead on the course is Karen Van Hoy Smith, our amazing artist mentor. And we will also be having our partners, Follow Art, joining in the last session. So that's quite exciting. And starting on the 24th of June, it runs for 4 weeks on Tuesdays from 1 p.m. UK time. Next up, we have a session with Carlos Savo, an artist based in US. He will be looking at and basically giving you the best tips ever on how to photograph just with your phone 3D artwork. So this could be sculptures, anything else that's basically not 2D. And I've done many sessions with him. And what's amazing is that you hear tips that make so much sense, but once he explains how and what to do, it's just it can really break through and help you, especially when you're preparing for awards and you need to have that good photograph of your artwork. This is the kind of session that can help you to get to that stage. So that's starting on the 2nd of July, and it's at 1 p.m. GMT. And last up, we have at the end of July a masterclass, Transform Your Artist Website. So this will be with Amy Jobs and Maggie Cochran, as well as with the VA marketing team. So that will be quite exciting. You have the best of the best advising. This is a masterclass that is open to our premium members. So if you're a premium member, just sign up, and there's nothing to lose in finding out how to improve your artist website. And I really had to mention that tomorrow we have the deadline for visual arts open. So the award is closing up. And just to note for those of you who are students in attendance today, students do have a lower price for the artworks if you're applying. So that starts from £8 for one art piece. I will include all the price list in the follow-up email for today's event, but it's definitely something that if you have your artwork ready, just send it through. We have an amazing judging panel this year. And as I keep hearing from everyone who provides tips for artists about the awards, it's also not about winning, but having your artwork going out there and someone seeing it. And then it's just about of sending it here, sending it there, and gallerists, people from the art industry who see things like that. It's always good to put yourself out there. And lastly, we wanted to quickly mention our latest project called Art Lounge. So this is something that we hope will help recent art graduates or current art students to help kickstart your art career. So this is, as I mentioned, is for current art students, recent graduates within 3 years, self-taught or returning artists, and creatives starting to professional journey. What you will be gaining from these sessions is personalized feedback and portfolio reviews, group sessions, free entry to Artist of the Year awards, pricing, marketing, and gallery advice, access to curated exhibitions and showcases, and a supported network of emerging artists. Again, I will be adding further information on this and how to express your interest in applying for it in my follow-up email. But just to let you all know that this is one of the ways that VA is trying to support young and emerging artists. And lastly, I promise, I want you to note that we will be including one of our guides to everyone who signed up for today's event. So that's on monetizing art, a guide for early career artists. And just before the session, Leanne, one of the directors who is here with us today, mentioned that this was also part of our masterclass that we did in the past with artist Karen Griffiths. So if you're a premium member of VA, you can go back and rewatch this masterclass. It goes really well with this guide. And again, the guide will be included for everyone who signed up for today. And that's about it from me. I'm passing it on to Laura, one of our directors.
Fantastic. A really warm welcome to today's panel guests. We are joined by Hannah Grout, Fair Manager at the Other Art Fair, Adesh Atelier, artists, content creators and storytellers, and B. Last, artist and educator, as well as Artist of the Year 2024 winner. Just a little bit of information about each of our panelists before we go to some questions. First of all, Hannah Grout, obviously Fair Manager at the Other Art Fair. She works with London-based and international artists alike to build an exhibitor base of impressive artistic talent. Her current role entwines curation and feature management with previous experience in marketing the global editions of the fair, and as well as PR at a leading fashion house. With a strong background in the arts, Hannah has completed an MA in Contemporary Art Theory from Goldsmiths, along with a BA from the University of Leeds. Next up, a warm welcome to and welcome back to Adwa and Solomon. You are the creative duo behind Adesh Atelier, renowned storytellers and content creators with a focus on African mythology and culture. Your work has been commissioned by the National Gallery, the BBC, Royal Academy of Arts and Electronic Arts. Through painting and digital storytelling, they reimagine African mythological deities, folklore, and history while using online platforms to engage new audiences and challenge misconceptions about African spirituality and heritage. And then last but not least at all is B. Last, a professional practicing contemporary artist, mentor, and educator. You're based in Scotland. Your practice is both national and international. You've recently exhibited in Venice as a finalist for the Laguna Art Prize and in York for the Aesthetica Art Prize. Obviously, in 2024, you won the VAA Artist of the Year award. In the same year, you also won the D&G Life Artist of the Year award for your contribution to the Dumfries and Galloway community. Your wide-ranging experience includes commercial and public galleries, artist-run initiatives, corporate commissions, and selection panels in partnership with Creative Scotland. You also have training and experience working with young people with additional learning barriers. So a really wide range of experience there. I think my first question that I want to kind of open to the panel and ask each of you is whether can you share a moment actually, and if early in your career or post-art school experience, whether as a graduate or someone working with recent graduates, that shaped how you view this transitional period? So can you share a moment early in your career? And can I start? Actually, Hannah, I'd like to ask you that question.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think I'm going to speak on behalf of graduates that I've recently worked with. So at the Other Art Fair, we see a lot of graduates coming through, a lot of people that are possibly new to the art scene and thinking about new ways that they can kickstart their career, whether it be through sales or marketing their own art and having a real kind of a bit of help and a bit of a leg up in doing this. So the art fair itself is an independent art fair that asks for applications from artists. There's no gallery representation. So we're seeing these kind of graduates and people new to the art scene coming through, placing their application and getting a real nice 8-week supported kind of kickstart to their career with us at the Other Art Fair itself.
Oh, no, that's brilliant. A great opportunity. And actually, I'm just going to go and ask Shirley-Ann the same question. You know, can you share a moment early in your career or
Absolutely. For past 15 years, we've been taking interns on at the VAA and our previous companies. But I recall that success doesn't come straight away when you graduate, and you have to apply for lots of opportunities. And in my experience, doing an internship or voluntary work really can put you in good stead. In fact, we take on a lot of interns who have done previous work for us, and they've demonstrated that they understand our culture. And more recently, an example of this is one of the latest additions to our team. She hadn't done an internship with us, but what she did do, she graduated with an art degree last year, and she was working on her own creative practice, but she also wanted the stability of employment, which I think a lot of people don't talk about. So she upskilled, got some really good practical skills in marketing, and she joined our marketing team recently. So I think sometimes you have to not just look at the pure art practice, which she still does, but you have to look at multiple streams of income. So what I would say is look at additional skills and look for work experience. They're things that really employers and your whole career will benefit from. In terms of an early career break, if you like.
Yeah, no, that's definitely some really good advice, and I can see lots of nodding going along there. So obviously, Adwa and Solomon, what would you say? Do you agree with that? Anything else to add from your experience?
Yeah, 100%. We definitely agree with what Hannah and definitely Shirley-Ann just said. So for our experience, our journey wasn't exactly traditional. So we came from an architectural background. So we both have BAs and MAs in architecture. And I feel like that as artists taught us like the importance of adaptability. Like Shirley-Ann said, putting our feet in different kind of
trying to get as many opportunities as possible as well.
Yeah.
I think one of like the most important like pinch me moments or understanding the transitional period of sort of like just coming out and being immersion like artists is, well, it happened to be when we were, commissioned by the National Gallery, and we brought some of our works into the gallery, and it was just hearing the praise about our work and sort of like what it was, what it meant. And the reason why this was so important is because it's combating that imposter syndrome that you will sometimes feel. And I think it's important to get that sort of validation, but it shouldn't be when you get this big commission that you think that, you deserve to be an artist or you deserve to take up space. It should be, any wins that you get, any little wins that you get, anytime someone sees your work and it means something to them and, they experience something from it. When people like praise your work, take it seriously, don't let it go in one ear and out the other, bank it, because these are important things. Like, this is the reason why you're an artist. And to us, just like having those moments of just like saying, oh yes, we deserve to take up the space, because an artist is someone who can make someone feel with their art. And yeah, I think that was like an experience that we
Yeah.
sort of banked.
Yeah, no, that's so important. It really is. And the feeling that you know, we talked about that actually in a previous session, our last session, how art makes you feel and the emotions that it gives you and how important that is. And again, I can see B, obviously, you know, you've got a lot of a sort of experience in
Because I'm
working,
old.
obviously. I wasn't going to say that at all. But in working with obviously young people and also from your own experience, have you anything to add there too?
Well, firstly, absolutely agree with everything that's been said from everyone. And I'd also like to say that when I left art school, because I'm old, it was before the internet. So my approach to getting out there in the world was a lot harder, a lot of footwork. You know, there was no, the internet has opened up so much, which I think is just fantastic for recent graduates. I think that, you know, on leaving art school, the difference being when I left, there were no support networks online that you could go to. You felt very isolated. You had to physically connect with groups of people. Whereas now I would encourage to join so many artist platforms. There's places you can go for advice, for workshops. Yourselves is one of them. We've got Visual Arts Scotland up here and Scottish Contemporary Art Network, all doing similar things, offering advice and workshops and mentoring, opportunities, networking, advice. Yeah. So much different now than, so for me, all the forgive me for this, is it Adichie?
Adichie.
What you were saying about experiences, and what I'm personally finding now is all my experiences over the years are all falling into place, and we all get there at different times. You know, I was a snail, so but they're all falling into place now, and it's now that I'm finding my voice. But I can pick on days of being a barmaid to support my work. Well, hey, that taught me from a naturally shy person. Suddenly it's like being at a private view and you're serving the drinks, you know. Picture framing, working in a theatre, they're all little pockets of experience that all contribute to who you are as an artist now.
Yeah, that
So
makes complete sense, actually. You
yeah,
know, like you say, a bar job, talking to people,
but we've
learning
all
how to
done it.
network. You never know who you're going to meet.
No,
So look, keeping your eyes open no matter
yeah.
what you're doing. No, that's
And the slow process, sorry, going on, but it's just one last thing. The little slow process, all those, they're little seeds that you plant. You might not get direct sales or direct commissions, but a couple of years down the line, somebody remembers. Every time you put a piece of work out there, that's a little seed planted. Somebody else will know who you are. So 40 years on, what's that me? But you see what I mean? It's planting the seed.
It
And
does happen, definitely. So in terms of everyone's experience here, how would you find that your expectations in coming out of art school, coming into the sort of art world, do they compare to the realities of actually working in it? So, you know, what did you think beforehand? Did you think, oh gosh, you know, I'm really looking forward to this, and is it completely different? Or what would you say surprises people the most? Oh, and who will I start? Adwa and Solomon, do you want to, having just, well, recently come out of art school?
Yeah, I'd say like definitely just coming out of university, it's not a linear path. It's like so reliant on the networks you make. Timing is a big thing as well, and also persistence. I think the structure of coming out of school is like it doesn't stay with you, so you have to kind of make your own structure and rely on yourself a lot and your capacity to adapt to different situations, as well as how well you communicate and put yourself in spaces. I think what we've learned is that if we put ourselves in often unfamiliar or like spaces where we feel it might be a bit uncomfortable, that's where we kind of are able to, really test ourselves and make the most out of a moment. And I think that's something that we should practice as graduates, because you come from a very comfortable position, you have your tutors, you have your friends, and now you're like in the world. So you have to really, relish the uncomfortableness of life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, the truth is that you have to fight your way through in this sort of like career.
Yeah.
It's not a straightforward profession. You can ask 100 different artists and they'll show you like 100 different paths and how to sort of
Yeah.
make it. And that's sort of the reality of it. So it's about, I guess, asking as many people about their journeys, and so then in your mind you learn that it doesn't have to be a straightforward. It's not A to B. You won't come out of uni and just be like, oh yeah, I'm in a gallery, or I'm an artist that's now making as much money as possible. There's just so much to life that goes through the journey of an artist, and it can be as exciting as you want it to be. It can be scary. There will be moments that aren't great, like that comes with it. But those lessons, those experiences, they should inform your practice, inform your experience. And honestly, after asking so many different artists, it informs what your life, it enriches your life in a way. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that you sort of learn about coming out of uni.
Yeah, no, that's really, really helpful. I mean, it's nice to know there is no set path. There are lots of different options. And I agree with you as well about stepping out of that sort of comfort zone, because that's often when the biggest growth occurs as well. I mean, Shirley-Ann, what would you add there? Do you agree with that? Anything else?
Yeah, I think when I've been mentoring artists over a long period, when they first come out of art school, one of the things that surprises them is that they're not prepared for the high highs and the low lows of being in charge of your own career. It's not like you go into a job and there's a set formula and you climb the ranks. So you have to be a self-starter in some ways. And I think it's also very useful to understand how opportunity works. So a few people have touched on this. But Grayson Perry, I recall when he started his art career, he was actually found, he did an exhibition, and it was several years later before a curator that saw him at that exhibition picked up his work, and then his career snowballed, if you like. So you're planting seeds and you don't know who's going to see your work and what's going to happen to it. So if I was going to give some advice, it would be to foster a sense of faith and community around you and keep looking for the opportunities. And there are some artists who are incredibly lucky and they get that gallery deal and they go straight, skyrockets. But then I've seen there's a downside to that. Whereby they haven't really truly found their creative voice, and then they've got this big platform, they change their artwork direction. So do it in a measured way, and remember it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yeah, no, some really wise words. And B, from your experience, did it sort of coming out of art school, was it as you expected going
I,
into the art world?
I just remember feeling absolutely lost. I'd done 5 years straight, full time art school, every day living and breathing art. And then suddenly, I just remember the last day of college thinking, well, what do I do now? In hindsight, what I will say at the other end, moving along, is I am so grateful and I feel for sticking to my guns, for being driven, which I think has got, because it is the highs and the lows. My God, the lows are devastating, and the highs are, you could be bouncing off the ceiling, and generally anywhere in between. It's very unstable emotionally, financially, it's insecure. You really got to be doing it because you love it, or you've got that drive. The other end of it, though, I'm beginning to feel really grateful, no matter how hard it's been, because through art, I've met people that I may never have met. I've been places I wouldn't have got to if it wasn't for my art. I come from a working class background. There's so many opportunities that I wouldn't have had, but art crosses boundaries. It crosses barriers. It crosses language, and I'm just so grateful. It's been fantastic.
Oh, no, that's great.
Yeah.
And Hannah, obviously from your experience with the other art fair, or your personal experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about sort of planting the seeds and thinking about opportunities not necessarily being a linear thing. And I think in relation to artists that maybe first do the fair or have an experience of an art fair, and I've witnessed this myself, is those opportunities that come from that experience can be months down the line. It can be a commission that you're going to be working on for the next few months after the fair has closed, or you can, you know, sell a lot of work on the spot and meet those connections over the weekend of the fair itself. You just never know. And from hearing hundreds of stories from all different artists from all across the globe, this happens again and again. You just don't know where these connections are going to come from. And that's why it's so important to make notes of all the people that you meet in your travels, and make sure that you're also reaching out and making and sort of nurturing this community and sort of all your own connections as well, just to ensure that you're kind of chatting back to anyone that has shown an interest in your art. And I think it's been mentioned again, getting your art out there is just so important. So finding any kind of opportunity, whether it be enrolling in the fair or putting your work out into a VAO call or anything like that, it's just really important to get eyes on. So yeah, they are real nuggets of the journey for sure, and it's definitely not linear. So don't panic if it's not feeling like that, for sure.
It's so true. You never know when those opportunities will arise, and being proactive as well. You know, following up is a really sort of big takeaway. So career pathways. Let's sort of dig into that a little bit. What kinds of pathways have you seen artists take after graduating? I mean, obviously, we've just really been talking about the sort of straightforward sort of fine art, but there are lots of different pathways. I'm going to actually start off with Shirley-Anne to give us a little bit of an overview on that, and then speak to the rest of the panel on their personal experience.
Okay, well, at the VAA, when we've been working with artists, it's in twofold, if you like. You've got your arts business, which is the pure practice, and then you've also got, we really encourage people to develop multiple streams of art income. So that might be through employment, but the different pathways are so varied, and it's amazing to see. So if I think of our top artists who are doing really, really well, they very rarely just do art. Some do, as in pure art creation, and they may do programming, art curation, communications. So they normally have several strings to their bow, and sometimes they may have a full-time job until they can actually get their art practice up to a sustainable point where they then leave their full-time job. So as we said before, the pathway is never linear. And there's so many great, if I look at the people in the VAA community, we've got Helga Stenzel. She used to be an art director, working in an ad agency. I've seen set designers and teachers. There's so many different brilliant jobs that allow you to sustain your art practice at the same time. And then you obviously got those that go full steam ahead into their art practice and say, right, no, I'm going to do this and I'm going to focus on this purely. And and that's what the VA helps with, things like licensing and with all these different ways to generate multiple streams of art income.
Yeah, no, there are so many opportunities. The more you sort of delve into them and the more I speak to artists, the more amazing things that I see, are being done, or opportunities are being taken. I mean, Hannah, what would you add there? What kinds of pathways have you seen artists sort of take?
Yeah, I mean, Shirley-Ann's right. I think at the fair, having so many artists represented, there are so many kind of slashes, as you like. I know you kind of get that a lot in the creative industries of like, oh, I'm also this, and this is my kind of my full-time gig, and art is on the side. That's definitely the case. And I think what you're saying as well about getting your practice up to that point where you feel like you can maybe take the leap and possibly add an art fair to your roster, or you are approached to a gallery and you have time to, put some more time into your own practice. Perhaps it's renting a gallery space, a space to do your artwork a little bit later down the line as well, eventually in your career path. But I think it's also possible in some ways to launch your own independent art career. And that is definitely something that can be done. It takes a lot of energy, and it almost you become your own business, really, don't you? You've got to think of all the different elements of how to market yourself as an artist. You've got to have kind of a pinpointed sort of almost pathway that you're setting out for yourself for whether it be the next month or the next few months. And perhaps that is an art fair or something like that you're working towards, that allows you to gear up and actually represent yourself independently too. But yeah, it's definitely a great idea to have that focal point, but I think there's lots of different career paths and ways that people can get to the final point, wherever that may be in their distant future, or near future, as it may be.
Definitely. And, I've seen lots of success at art fairs and going down that route. And, we see lots of artists who only go down that route and make that their career, and have done very well too. I mean, Bea, obviously, you've got a lot of strings to your bow. What's your sort of experience? What career pathways have you taken? And
Well, I was going to say there's so the spectrum of the arts is so broad. You can go into art in health, art in education, design, commercial art, and so on. So my thoughts are to remain flexible and diversify. My own journey has been, I guess, because there wasn't the support, there weren't these kind of conversations with support for the creative business. There was lots of talk of, and I actually miss it, but talk about paint or the essence of art, and less about art business. So that's good that we've got that going on. I went down so many different roads. Any one of them I could have stopped. At one point, I was painting very large canvases. I'd gone into the corporate sector. That's another area to go. Lots of money there. They've got spaces for big canvases, and that in turn would help support more of the work that I really wanted to do. But again, it's down to the individual. My heart, when I started getting asked to do, could I do that one again? That's not me. So I said no to the big money and yes to my own, because it's you that carries you through. At the end of the day, it's about how is your integrity, and that's what's going to carry me through. And I'm looking forward to learning so much more as well. It's ongoing. The other thing is the pathways that you might start off with when you leave art school. Things change. You get to a certain horizon line that you were aiming at, but suddenly somebody's moved the goalpost. The focus, the spotlight could be on. Listen, I could just sit here and go on, so tell me to shut up, but I'm at the beginning of learning about something that, you know, a level up for me, something bigger, that things I didn't realize then, and I didn't realize a couple of years ago, all to do with the business of art, where the spotlight is, who's providing the money to fund, and what are the tick boxes that go with that. And all of that shapes where I want to get to next. Has sort of changed a bit. So you've got to be flexible. You've got to be at peace with yourself. But there's so many different, for younger artists, we've got, you know, artists that are having a senior moment. Artist platforms where artists create groups and make things happen for themselves. There's just so many different things. Sorry.
I must admit, I agree, but I love a good artist collective, and that's how Frieze was started, wasn't it?
Well,
the world famous Frieze.
Frieze, I was at the very first affordable art fair.
Ah.
I remember when that kicked off, and that, sorry, I might be going off down a tangent here, but this is how things change. Once upon a time, there was no art fair for individual artists. You had to go through a gallery. Affordable art fair starts, you can be present, it's you. Then that's got a little bit bigger and so on. So things constantly change, should be aware. Be flexible.
Keeping up with those changes.
Keep up with it. I've got to work hard at keeping up.
I mean, I'm going to just ask Adwa and Solomon, because obviously you've taken a really interesting route, you know, on career pathways. So I'd love for you to sort of share what you're doing and you know, the work, the pathways that you've taken since graduating.
Yeah, so when we graduated, we went straight into 9 to 5. So we were both architects, working in architecture for about, I'd say for me, two to 3 years, you like 3 to 4 years. And literally recently in like October, we just decided to take the leap and do our art and content creation full time, which was scary, but I think it was necessary because we were so passionate about what we were doing, and we just thought it was the right time to make that jump. And luckily enough as well, because we're content creators, we're able to, you know, we live in this new digital era, and we're able to, you know, make money and use our art, like extend our craft to, you know, content on social media, which is amazing. I feel like even 10 years ago, that wasn't a thing that you could do. So it's really changed the way in which we, you know, utilize our career.
Yeah, definitely. It's about taking that non-conventional route, navigating the art world, in this new digital frontier. And I guess through content creation, you're sort of able to create your own gallery, your own mini gallery online. You create your own you curate your own micro show there. And your audience isn't just like your followers. So people might think, oh yeah, you just have your followers. But in that space, you have all the institutions, you have collectors and more, you know, all those eyes that are able, you know, if you create that space in the proper way, in an engaging enough way, you have all of those eyes on your work very directly. And that's what social media could be for you. You know, lots of people see it as this, it's just extra work, you know, I just want to get on with my craft. And sometimes it can be extra work, but it can also be a shorter path to get to where you actually want to get to. You know, if your goal is to get your work in front of more eyes, to connect with more people, to, you know, be able to network with institutions of people, like there is a direct path that you can use through social media, and it's about utilizing it in the way that works best for you. So that's the path that we've sort of taken, making sure that we're able to utilize this space. And
I'd say like really take advantage of social media, because like B was saying, we have the luxury now to, you know, just you can message a gallery, you can tag a gallery, you can put your work out there. You don't have to physically be in a space for someone to see your work. So definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, and it almost like levels the playing field a bit, there's spaces
Yeah.
that we might not have been comfortable enough to be in,
Mhm.
or networks that we wouldn't necessarily have been able to have
Approach.
access to or approach. But now we've been able to, make those contacts and be
Yeah.
in those spaces and take up those spaces.
Yeah.
So again, it's don't be afraid to utilize, the technology, social media, and just put yourselves out there. You don't know who's looking at it. You don't know who's seeing you. You don't know who you're connecting with.
Yeah.
Yeah, you create that visibility, and also social media is creative in itself. If you are creative, like you say, you curate your own work. And one of the things, obviously, that you didn't mention there was, and an avenue we haven't really sort of talked about is galleries and the work that you did with the National Portrait Gallery. Could you just briefly sort of explain how that came about?
Yeah, so luckily enough, we have quite a big social media presence, and because of that, galleries and institutions see our page, and we were commissioned last year by the National Gallery and also the BBC from that, actually, which was quite interesting. And yeah, they saw our work, which is inspired by African mythology and folklore, and they saw that in the gallery there's a space for that because they have a lot of Greek and Roman and Norse mythology. And they thought we were the best vehicles to, create paintings inspired by what they have in the gallery and also approach our audience and their audience to create something which was pretty special.
Yeah, I think what was important about this collaboration is that it wasn't just about the art, which
Yeah.
it wasn't, which the art was important for creating as well, but in terms of the social media presence and also the content that was able to be created from that.
Mhm.
Because especially for the gallery as well, it's about, how do you gain visibility in this new age where, people come into a gallery is not just about, people normally need a reason to want to come to a gallery nowadays because it's a bit different than how it used to be. So being online it's more touch points that can get people to entice to want to come to the gallery and having different reasons to be able to connect with the work. So sometimes it might just be how, the work that is up there, it's beautiful and it connects with someone, but then you might need to be able to creatively find a way to get someone to engage with the work as well. It's not just about what you're seeing, it's what it makes you feel. It's the other talking points it might bring as well. And that's what we did with this collaboration, is sort of having a different cross-cultural view of the work,
Yeah.
which engages more discussions. And that's what the social media really is all about. What
Yeah.
discussions can you spark with the work?
And I'd say being on social media helps you explain your work as well, because, often, like as an artist, sometimes you don't get the chance to really talk about your thought process, how you came up with the idea, what themes your work is inspired by. And I think because we're on social media so much, explaining our work so much, galleries and institutions really gravitate towards that. And I think, yeah, that's definitely something that you should carry on. Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, it's fantastic, and it's, really forward thinking and a way of thinking outside the box. And and as artists, that's what you're brilliant at doing, use that creativity in that way. I'm conscious, I'm now looking at the time and I'm thinking, gosh, I've only got through half of my questions. So, I mean, I'm just going to, I know this one's really important. So I am going to ask this. It's about survival and sustainability. And I'm going to start off again asking Shirley-Ann, from your experience, obviously you work with a lot of artists. What are some sustainable ways? Oh, sorry. Yeah, am I on the right one? Yes, sorry. What are some sustainable ways artists can build a career creatively and financially? Because I know that was important to sort of go over.
We've touched on quite a few of them, and I think the great thing about the art world today is that there's so many opportunities for artists. There's obviously the traditional applying for grants to develop your creative practice. There's working with galleries. A quick tip for galleries: we've got some great resources in the vault if you do have a portfolio and feel that your gallery ready. they look for consistency, and they look for artists that are active. And then they tend to look for quality. So they're the three things that they will look for when they're doing it. But please do access the resources. We've got lots of recordings on it. We teach multiple streams of art income, whether that's licensing, art fairs. We mentioned art fairs before. I mean, the other art fair operate 12 art fairs right across the globe, and we know some of our artists just literally do the international art scene with the other art fair. So there are lots of different avenues. And then there's the traditional route where more critically engaged art projects, working with institutions. So I guess it depends on your type of art, what resonates with you, and what you want to get out of your art practice. The one tip that I would say to you is keep looking for opportunities. Imagine when you graduate, you're thinking, oh, hell, what am I going to do now? Imagine there's 100 doors. Keep trying all the different doors till you find the doors that open. So sometimes we have desires, but really we're being put into a different path. And there's some great ways to build a sustainable art career. And people don't even realise about the grants and the funding that are available.
I was just going to say, I mean, we've worked with a lot of artists that haven't realised about the Developing Your Practice, the DYP grant with the Arts Council. And a lot of our artists are seeing success with that. You know, so there are a lot of grants, aren't there, Shirley-Anne?
Yeah.
And obviously, all of you know about out there.
Definitely. We've got again a recording with a lovely lady from Arts Council England, and you know, some fairly sizable grants, £15,000, £20,000 have been awarded. So I guess again it depends on what direction, but you know, do book a call, or you know, we've got this great project coming up, Art Launch, where we can help graduates navigate those first stages and really help get clarity on what would be best suited for them at that point. And then there's obviously traditional creative industries jobs, which you know can lead to one opportunity, and we take graduates on, as many organisations, including the other art fair and all the institutions, do as well. But I love what Adèche Atelier have done. I think it's a really creative, you know, forward-thinking avenue. And I just wanted to add to the social media element of it. We've been increasingly getting contacted by corporates who want to work with our artists. So we've had some really nice projects which we pulled off for artists, you know, really big contracts for online. So you know, people want to engage with your audience, and there's a mutual benefit for you both working together. So yeah, there's lots of different avenues. I know I'm going on, but you've got not much time left.
Yeah, no, there really are lots of avenues open. Just quickly, because I know how important that this is about building networks and finding communities after graduating. Can I just ask, I'm going to perhaps ask Hannah first of all, just quickly, what would you say about how important is building those networks?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of this has been a theme of the call is kind of making sure that you're gathering these people up from wherever it may be. Perhaps it's that what I've said here is, you know, attending all the fairs as well as being there as an artist. Go as a visitor if you can find some complimentary tickets. I know the VAA sometimes give some of those out as well, or go to grad shows of, you know, at recent graduates, or go to art openings, PVs, whatever you think, and meet people and network and really record those people that you meet, because I think that's just the best way, you know, building that network, having a mailing list, ensuring that you're following lots of people on Instagram. And I love this rhetoric as well about using Instagram and social media as this kind of tool rather than this big scary thing. It's a tool that you can use to really elevate your own practice and elevate your communication. But yeah, it becomes completely invaluable, and it's just so important to have that network. But I have also written a note here in my comments about the fact that your own class and your graduates, you know, people that you graduated with, are also that initial springboard. That's your network, right? So don't be afraid to reach back out to those people in your class, your tutors perhaps, to kind of really build on that, work together in that sense, and build on a network in a shared network, perhaps.
Well, one tip that I would like to add to that as well is don't be afraid to buddy up. Networking has bad rap. We get scared by the word networking, and don't be afraid to go and support other people. You know, if someone's got a gallery opening, get on the mailing list. I would say have a buddy, go along, have those conversations. It's actually quite a fun thing to do. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant, both socially and online. So I'm just looking at the time, so I'm just going to ask my last question. So have we got many questions, Carolina, that have come in? I'm just
We have
thinking, so we have 5
one
minutes.
artist with the raised hand, so I'm just gonna write to Gina if she could post her question in the chat, but I'll let you know if we're running out of time.
Okay, well, my sort of last question, and it's always nice to sort of leave on something like that. If you could offer one piece of grounded, practical advice for those leaving art school today, whether it be an artist or an art worker, what would it be? So the one piece of grounded, practical advice. B, I'll start with you on that one.
What I'd say is the arts is an incredibly hard career path to take. You will get rejections. You will get people saying no. What I'd say to that is remember, when you get a rejection, it doesn't necessarily mean they don't like your work or that your work's not good enough. It could be that it's not what they're looking for. It's not right for their project. So, you know, I've had people say, oh, I got rejected, I'm giving up. Please don't give up. We all get them, whatever stage of your career. Like I say, it doesn't mean your work's bad. It just means it might not be what they're looking for.
No, that's a really, really good piece of advice. And Hannah, can I ask you, what is your one piece
Yeah,
of
of course.
advice?
I think my one piece would actually be, if you're sort of completely confused and feeling directionless, and there will obviously be points when you feel like this, is to actually choose one. And I know we've said open all the doors, keep all the options open, but perhaps sometimes it's quite nice to choose one thing that you're going to focus on just for a week, 2 weeks. Maybe it's a specific piece, or maybe it's a piece that you want to put into an entrance, an entry for an award, or perhaps it is a fair, or perhaps it's, listing some works on your own personal website or on a sales platform or something like that. Pick one thing and really focus on doing that just for some time to clear your head and get that real achievement done, and things will kind of fall into place after you have completed that one task, for sure.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's getting rid of that feeling of overwhelm, and then you've actually achieved something. So that's really good.
100%.
Okay, and Adwa and Solomon, what would you say? Just one piece of advice.
I guess even if you don't feel fully confident yet, establishing professional habits and clear structures to help build credibility to yourself, because at the end of the day, you are the brand as an artist. And I say, keeping that level of professionalism wherever you are always helps.
Yeah, honestly, it's about, building that personal brand in yourself. Like figuring out what it is. It doesn't have to be a rigid thing. You develop your brand as you go along. It changes, it adapts, but it's just figuring what that looks like for yourself at each stage and being true to that.
No, brilliant. Thank you. And Shirley-Ann, your takeaway.
I would say stay visible, keep showing your work, keep turning up, and success will come. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Amen to that.
Brilliant. No, those are all fantastic tips to take away. Carolina, we've got a few minutes. Just quickly, are there any the question? I think you said
A
there's a
really
question
good
for our
question.
panel.
Yeah, there's a good question from Jane. She's asking, have you got any advice for mature graduates, please, which may be different from my younger contemporaries? So what advice have you got for those artists who have gone into the art school a bit later and they're mature graduates?
Oh, Shirley Ann.
Okay, what I would say is use your experience. So if you a good communicator, for example, offer to help those that are junior, do talks, but it all goes back to getting your artwork out there. And we have quite a lot of mature art graduates, and they've got different life experiences that people can connect to. And don't be afraid. And fears are normal as well, but art is what it makes is to be human, and people want to connect with your art. So show up, and don't be afraid that you're a mature student.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And Andrea is asking for some advice. Is it better to keep a body of art together and sell prints to generate income, or is it better to sell original work? I'm an older emerging artist with a strong portfolio, and I have a hard time wanting to sell because I feel that the portfolio is somehow precious to keep together for the purpose of solo shows. So, any advice for Andrea?
I think, Hannah, can I ask you?
Yeah, of course. I think this question is a bit of a tricky one because it sounds, Andrea, like perhaps you have a body of work that you're just adding to and creating, and it's kind of almost becoming a huge body of work with lots of pieces. What I would say is there's lots of different avenues for sales of work. Of course, I would always encourage you to make prints. Smaller price point pieces are also always a great entry-level piece for buyers. So that's definitely an option. But what I would also say is perhaps this portfolio that you speak of is your baby, and it's one you do want to keep together, and it's great for galleries and solo shows and things like that. Why not branch out and perhaps make some pieces that are adjacent to that portfolio, and perhaps bring those to things like your art fairs or list those on site. There's no harm in kind of branching off and making a kind of secondary portfolio. I would say in general, we see great sales of both originals and prints at things like art fairs. So if you are going to attempt an art fair or something similar, I would definitely encourage you to have some originals alongside any prints too, for sure.
Thank you. Are we any more questions or?
Big thanks from Andrea, Hannah. Thank you so much. I think that's about it. This was a really, I think, well-rounded panel discussion. We're touching all the different points. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, no, thank you. Perfect timing there. Thank you so much, everyone, for your tips, advice, and guidance. Any questions that you think about afterwards, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We'll send you out our guide as we said earlier on. But good luck, everyone. Really enjoy what you're doing, and take care. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.